All right, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Texans Junkies. I'm Mark, joined as always by Nathan, and man, we're really excited to film today. We were gonna go over some news articles, and we had the idea to do a power ranking episode today. So we're super psyched because season's right around the corner. It's July. We got, I think, 3 weeks until some actual football. So we're just gonna go over sort of our consensus power ranking and just kind of give y'all an idea of who we think is going to be good or bad going into next season. But Nathan, how you doing, man?
Doing great, man. We just got back from vacation. We
That's
went
right.
to the Frio River over the weekend, so got back to normal life on Monday, and it's been not been as good, but I'm glad we're doing a podcast today because I've been super excited. August 1st is the Hall of Fame game, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
I mean,
We're
we're
yeah,
not going
we're
to see
just about three
CJ
weeks
or
out,
Caleb, but like, yeah,
dude. We're gonna see
it'll
something
still be cool
better.
to see some football though.
We're gonna see Davis Mills and Tyson Bagent. I can't wait, dude. Like
Yeah,
that's who everyone really wants to see. So yeah,
that's
we're
true.
super psyched. But we're gonna start with our first news item. Uh, this week, the Texans re-signed Jerry Hughes to a one-year deal. I was super happy about this because it was kind of widely regarded that Jerry Hughes was going to retire. And even though our D line is looking really good going into next season, we still need that depth. And what better veteran presence to have than a guy who's just been in the league for I think 15 seasons now, or he's going into his 15th. He's turning 37 in August, so I'm really happy because he can still play at a high level, and we're lucky to have him. How do you feel about this, Nathan?
I mean, he produced last year too. Like, I mean, I remember that play where he stripped. Man, who was it, dude?
I think it was
Was it
Russell
Russ
Wilson.
or Russ? Yeah,
Yeah,
he stripped somebody and they recovered it, and then I think Sheldon Rankins recovered it for a touchdown or something along those lines. And I mean, dude, so he's still out there. You know, he's not going to be starting for you or anything like that. He'll be coming in when they need a breather, or if we're up a lot, they might not play Will or Daniil. So, but for $2.5 million, like 1.3 guaranteed vet minimum, I think it's a good deal. I like it.
yeah, definitely. We need some more rotational guys. Considering the star power we have, we kind of lost some depth, lost Malik Collins, lost Sheldon Rankins. So definitely a nice piece to have. Hopefully he'll be joined by JJ Watt going into the postseason, but we'll take this for now.
And quick question: looking back, because whenever we lost our seventh rounder for Ben
Collins.
Skoranek,
Oh yeah.
no, I think we traded our seventh rounder for Ben Skoranek, right? And then
Yep.
we traded Malik Collins the next day, right? And got that seventh rounder back. Was that the trade that we got it
Mm,
back from?
pretty sure Skoranek was after the whole Malik Collins thing. Malik Collins was like during free agency, and we got that seventh rounder for him, and then Skoranek was like a few weeks after free agency.
Well, something
If I'm
happened
not
right
mistaken.
before where we lost the seventh rounder, and then we traded Malik Collins and basically got it. Oh, it was for Joe Mixon. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
Mixon. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now looking back, like, do you wish we just would have kept Malik? Like, right as of right now, where we are, like, I'm kind of regretting that trade. I think out of all of the great things that Nick Casario has done, I think this was one mistake in a way. Like, dude, it's a seventh round pick. Like, what did we really need that for Malik? Like, I think we
It
should
was
have kept him the
more.
way it was.
Yeah, it was more about the cap space for Stephon Diggs, I think. The seventh rounder was just kind of a sweetener because I think we were going to get rid of him regardless, just to clear some cap room. But yeah, I mean, I do regret it because, having Stephon Diggs is great. And if it was a deal breaker, like if we keep Malik and can't get Diggs, then yeah, get rid of Malik. But if we could have kept both, like we're thin at D tackle. We got Tim Settle, we have Foley, and we have Danico Autry. And after that, I'm honestly not sure. I'd have to look at like a depth chart on our lads or something to know who we have back there. But yeah, I wish we kept Malik for sure.
Well, I was looking at Locked On Texans, and they were saying that I believe is they said we had over $10 million in cap space. So there's no doubt we could have kept him, regardless of the Stephon Diggs trade or not. Um, but
Well,
also, the trade was supposed to happen for Eric Armstead. and then it fell through because Nick Caserio didn't want to take on his contract. And then that's why we just traded Malik for the 7th rounder. But now we're super thin at that position, and Malik produced last year. And it's like, I think Caserio may have screwed up a bit with the whole how that was handled. But
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's not perfect. We also got Marcus Harris in the draft, so that's another name at D tackle, but rookie 7th rounder. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Definitely, that's my only area of concern. So if it ends up being a problem, y'all heard it here first because we've been talking about this ever since free agency. But yeah, we'll see how that pans out. How much is Malik making in San Francisco?
I mean, they probably took over the contract we gave them, so I don't know, 6-7 million maybe.
That's it. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I
he's
don't know.
not making.
Maybe he wanted a multi-year deal or something or an extension, and we just it was probably a number of reasons. So we'll see. But yeah, we're gonna miss him and Sheldon Rankins. I just think that it was time for us to upgrade our D line from good to really good, and that's what had to happen. So
yeah, for sure.
Hopefully, we got the depth pieces. Our next news item is that NRG Stadium sustained some roof damage from Hurricane Beryl. And y'all probably saw the photos circulating, and we probably should have attached one, but it is what it is. But some of the panels from the retractable roof that we don't use enough were damaged. And it's not a huge deal. Hurricane Beryl was a huge deal. I'm not in Houston. I understand that a lot of people are still without power, so hoping that everyone's safe and gets their power back soon. But yeah, I guess they'll just have to make some repairs. Other than that, not a really huge deal, but just wanted to mention it. Any thoughts, Nathan?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's like so close to football season, and this Texas heat ain't no joke. And I would love to go to a game, but I would kind of hate to have an open roof. But it is what it is. Last time this happened was during Ike, and it took 4 months to repair. I believe I saw.
Really?
But also Ike did way more damage than Burl did, so maybe this will only take a couple weeks. Hopefully it'll before the regular season at least, because preseason I don't really go to. So
yeah, the thing about Ike
before
was,
the regular season the roof will get.
Yeah, Ike was a really powerful storm. It was like a Cat 4, I think, when it hit. We didn't have power for 15 days or something like that. And then Harvey was it wasn't as powerful, but it just sat over Houston for so long and dropped so much rain that it just overwhelmed us. And then Beryl was sort of, I wasn't around for Beryl, so I can't really say, but it seems like it was
just kind of a
combination.
Yeah, I mean, winds hit about 80 miles an hour, 85. The rain was not that bad. I mean, there was definitely flooding, don't get me wrong, but it was no Harvey. And the wind was the worst part. Everyone knows that. I mean, like Buffalo Bayou is completely underwater. But most of the damage is from what the wind caused. The fences are down and trees fell on houses, that sort of thing. So, but I mean, all in all, everyone that I'm okay. Everyone that I've talked to is pretty okay. Just we're all without power. Well, except for me, but everyone we were for about 2 days. So
yeah, my parents just got power back too. So it seems like it's trending in the right direction. All right. We're gonna go ahead and get into the power rankings, and we originally were just gonna make a list real quick, but we had a phone call that turned into an hour and a half debate about what team should be where. So just know that this list was carefully curated and a source of intense debate.
You're gonna see some teams that I may have had over other teams in our previous record prediction videos, but like we said, we were basically, this was like a consensus list. So we had to kind of come together and really put it together the way realistically it probably could play out. So when you see some of the teams, and we'll go over some of those teams whenever it gets to that, but just to give y'all a forewarning.
Yeah, we had to make compromises in certain areas, especially, man, like the middle of this list, specifically the middle third of this list, well, I don't know, 10 to 15 was especially difficult, but 13 to 24, wait, is that a third? No, 11 to 22 was highly debated. So let's go in and get into it. We're going to start from worst to first. So we're going to go with number 32. And this,
Okay.
if you've seen our past videos, this should come as no surprise. 32 is the Giants. And I've been beating this drum for a little bit, so if I'm wrong, I'm going to look silly. But I'm under the impression, and I think Nathan is too, that the Giants are most likely to be the worst team in the NFL this year. They haven't addressed quarterback in years, and huge downgrade at running back. They lost their consensus best player to the Eagles, a division rival who they're going to have to face twice a year. Got Malik Neighbors in the draft. Is it enough? Not sure. They did address their D-line. D-line actually looks really good. I still think they just didn't do enough. They don't have the skill players. They have Devin Singletary now to fill the hole that Saquon Barkley left behind. What are you thinking, Nathan? It doesn't look like a good outlook for them.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the way I kind of look at them is like the Cardinals minus the D line. Like, I'm not, and don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing Murray to Daniel Jones. Okay, Murray is definitely better, but it is kind of like one of those things where you pay both kind of a lot of money, right? And then you're not really getting what you thought you were going to get. And then you address your wide receiver one in the draft. They got Marvin Harrison. Giants got Malik Neighbors, who were really neck and neck in that race. Like it could have probably gone either way.
Right.
But they kind of remind me the same, like James Conner, Devin Singletary. Like just like the secondary is not all that good. But the difference is Daniel Jones. Like he's obviously levels worse than Kyler Murray. I do like Brian Dable. I think he's a good coach. He just won Coach of the Year not too long ago. I just think I think it was just like a one hit wonder with Daniel Jones. Like 1 year he's great, and the next year he's just terrible, right?
I
I
don't
mean, like
even
we
think he
had
was
that
ever
with Brock
great.
Osweiler, right? I think
Sure.
he was good. He was definitely something where
He
you
was
thought like,
good.
oh, this guy could be our quarterback. You know, Brock
Yeah.
Osweiler was the same thing. We overpaid the hell out of him because he had one pretty good year with the Broncos, not even a whole year, and we gave him all that money and then he just shit the bed. It's kind of like Daniel Jones. He gets all that money and just shits the bed. So it's like,
Well,
I don't know. But all I will say is their D line is great. So if they're not last, it's because their defense is just killing people. And I think it could happen, like their defense is really good.
yeah. Yeah, Daniel Jones, it took too long for him to peak, and his peak was low, and now he's coming off of a severe neck injury. And it's looking bad. The front office of the Giants have been a complete joke. Everyone knew when Daniel Jones signed the 4-year, $160 million contract that they should have been committing long term to Barkley. And no one could have foreseen the neck injury, but they're just the decision making of the front office is questionable at best in my eyes, and it's looking like it's gonna be a long season for him. So
Oh yeah.
we'll see. But let's move on to 31, and we have the Carolina Panthers. Nathan, I want to believe that the Panthers' ceiling is higher this year, but I think their floor is just so low as well. And sometimes when it comes down to ranking, well, who's going to be worse or who's going to be better, the Patriots or the Panthers? If it's in a dead heat, I got to go to whoever's ownership is worse, because that team tends to wallow in mediocrity for longer and can't rebuild properly. And so we kind of decided that the Panthers would be 31, even though we're rooting for him, man. Like I hope Bryce Young has a good year, but yeah. Any more thoughts?
Not really, man. Like, I'm excited to see what the new receiver they got, Leggett. I'm excited to see him. They got the running back from Texas. I forgot his name.
Oh, Jonathan
Uh,
Brooks.
Jonathan Brooks. They got Jonathan Brooks. They lost a couple of key players, like their middle linebacker Frankie Louvu. They lost Burns. Burns went
Yeah,
to the
Burns
Giants,
and
right?
Luvu.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, they've lost some key players, but they also signed some key players that could help them. But obviously, there's no way that we can put them higher than 31 because there was really no significant move that really makes your eye pop. Like they didn't get that huge weapon that they could have, or the huge trade. They got some picks for Burns. But yeah, like Mark said, like the ownership is terrible. It's a bad situation over there. So all you can do is feel for Bryce Young and like hope he does good. But yeah, 31 is where they're sitting for sure.
Yeah, and they just paid two guards, who one of which I'd never even heard of, $100 million contracts. So it's just,
Yeah.
again, it's questionable decision making, and it's a GM and head coaching carousel. So
And you're also gonna pay more for being a bad team, right? Because nobody wants to go over there
right,
due to the ownership situation, so they're overpaying like crazy. So it's just not a good situation there for now. But
right.
at 30, we got the Patriots. Actually, I actually thought it could have been Patriots last or Patriots where the Panthers are, but we're gonna put them a little bit better than the Panthers, not by much at all. But they're pretty bad, dude. Like, I mean, they have a new head coach, rookie quarterback, which is kind of like our situation, minus like weapons. Period. Right? Like, I don't really know anyone on the Patriots. Uh, to be honest with you, I guess Hunter Henry, right? And then
Yeah.
what's the middle linebacker? I always blank.
Oh
Is he a
yeah.
linebacker?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, if you give me a second, I'll think of it.
John is like
He
Jonu. Is it Jonu
Oh no,
or
it's not Johnny, but you're close. We'll think of it. But I was
yeah?
advocating for the Patriots to be a little higher. Not much higher. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say I wanted them at 25, but uh, I think that their defense is really good. There are a lot of similarities between Patriots this year and us last year. Rookie quarterback, um, pretty decent defense, lack of skill weapons supposedly, but I just think that there's way too much uncertainty, especially in the offense. Like, you got Ramondre Stevenson, that's cool. Hunter Henry, Kendrick Bourne, and a couple of rookie receivers, and that's about it. So, did you look him up, Nathan?
Yeah, Matthew Judon.
Judon, yeah, that's right. Damn,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
So yeah,
so
and
we'll
like,
see.
dude, it's just not. It's not a good. They're just not a good team. I mean, it's going to take some time. They're rebuilding. They're out of the Belichick era, and they have a new head coach. I'm pretty sure Kraft is on a new type of, like he's on a new way of thinking. I'm sure I mean, they have a new GM, right? I mean, they had
Yeah,
to because Belichick was their GM. So
I think there's still a
maybe
little bit of
this will help. They
uncertainty.
just need. What happened?
Oh, I was saying, I think there's still a little bit of uncertainty regarding who the new GM is. Like, there was a press conference a couple weeks ago where they straight up asked, like, "Hey, who is y'all's general manager right now?" And they didn't get a straight answer. It's a really weird situation. But Gerard Mayo's most definitely the head coach, and
Yeah.
yeah, they have had really good ownership over time. Kraft, when you say a new way of thinking, I mean, it's tough to teach an old dog new tricks, but um, we'll see. Like, we'll see. I'm not sure what they are right now. If they ended up getting like 7 wins, I'd be like surprised but not shocked. But I could definitely see their floor being a 4-win team for a second year in a row. So
Yeah. So moving on to 29 ranked team. I have a little look. I'm not going to argue with it too much, but I think a lot of people might be like, "Damn, like that's really low for the Chargers, right?" Because like a Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. But then what else after that, right? Like you get Joe Alt in the draft, but he can only do so much. He's only protecting Justin Herbert. Um, then you have Quentin Johnston, Lad McConkey. Who else do they have? Joshua Palmer, right? Palmer's on their team.
yeah,
Palmer. I don't even know their tight end. But
they
we've
their
gone
tight
over this
end.
team. Like all these teams you're hearing, we've gone over, right? So
Yeah,
there's not much to say about the whole team as a whole. But this is a first year head coach, Herbert, who's been kind of struggling. I would say the past year or two. Maybe it's the offense. They fired the offensive coordinator, the head coach from last year, who the offensive coordinator was the Cowboys' offensive coordinator. I forget his name, but I think they let him go. Harbaugh might bring in, new tricks and new schemes that Herbert may like, and it may work out. They lose Eckler though, you know what I mean. So there's a lot of things going on in for LA, and it's just we'll see what kind of happens with these Chargers, man. I don't really see anything good. I do think it is a little low, but maybe by one or two spots. I mean, you might be able to find one more team in the next coming teams that could be worse than them. But this is just the way we feel because we don't think they address the offseason like a top 25 team could, right? I think 29 is pretty fair. I can see why people say it's a little low, but I think 29 is pretty fair.
Yeah, I could definitely see him being higher. Like Jim Harbaugh, I think brings a lot. Staley was just kind of a disaster, especially at the end of his tenure. And then they had that, I think it was 63-7 loss to the Raiders. And that was
it was
one
a
of the
little
most
bit better than
shocking
that,
games
but it
of the
was
season. 63-21, that's what it was.
yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the most shocking games of the season. That was crazy. Yeah, I think their tight ends, if I'm not mistaken, are Hayden Hurst and Will Dissly, and they both got these like medium size like 10 or $15 million contracts. So it was just like, okay, like pretty uninspiring, but we'll see. I could definitely see him being higher due to the Harbaugh effect, and maybe they'll play some hard nosed smash mouth football where they just run it. And Herbert gets like 15 or 20 attempts a game, but yes, I think it's sort of a transition year for him.
Yeah.
But moving on, 28 is the Saints. And honestly, I could see their floor being like 30 or 31. They did finish as a 9-8 team last year, which was really surprising because it was just such a frustrating year for the Saints and their fan base. But Kamara's a year older. Derek Carr he had a good end to the year, but he was like one of the least likable quarterbacks for any team last year. Just really, really a hard watch. And then other than that, Chris Olave is a stud, and their defense is just aging. Like they had that draft class with Kamara and Lattimore. I think it was 2017. Fantastic draft class, but they're just all getting older, and they're not doing a whole lot to fill in the gaps, in my opinion. They're handing out bad contracts, so they're just a tough watch. They're not very inspiring. I think their floor could be lower, but I could also see them being a 500 team again.
Yeah. So before we get to 25 teams, I mean, you have the Saints and the Panthers both in the same division at 28 and 31, and there's a reason for that. It's a terrible division. The Saints are pretty bad for sure. Carr is not good. Kamara, he had an okay year, but he was also suspended, I believe, for the first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
You lose Michael Thomas, never really had him past 3 years. You still have Tyrann Mathieu. You still have Marshawn Lattimore, Demario Davis. Really good players. Really good players. Like, yeah, they might be aging, but they're still really good. Olave is a beast. A beast. That dude is going to be a problem for years to come.
I'm drafting him for sure in fantasy.
You also got Chase Young, by the way. Like, Chase Young is on their D-line.
Cameron Jordan,
not
too.
saying – yeah. I mean, I'm not saying he's great, but he helped the 49ers get to a Super Bowl, right? So, I mean, yeah, I guess it's debatable. They had a great D-line. Nick Bosa on the other side probably helped a lot to get the numbers up. But either way, they do have some extra help. I don't really know what they got at receiver other than Olave and losing Michael Thomas to free agency, who has still yet to sign with the team, which will probably stay that way. I'm sure he's considering retirement at this point. But yeah, I think the Saints are 28 is pretty fair. I guess the next couple of teams you'll see, you can kind of mix match, I guess, a little. But this is where we have them, and that's where we're going to keep them because I think it's a fair assessment of their team. But next, we're going to go 27, the Denver Broncos. Obviously, I think they got worse. What's crazy is they got worse losing Russ, right? Like, don't you think? Like, I don't think they improved.
I think
because
that
Russ was
I think the range of outcomes got bigger. I don't think they necessarily got worse, but their floor is lower and their ceiling is higher. Like I think, obviously, I had the prediction, and by the way, we forgot to mention about the Saints. You had the bold prediction that Spencer Rattler would start games, which I agree with. And then I had the bold prediction for the Broncos that you did not agree with, understandably, that Bo Nix would have the best rookie year out of any quarterback. But I do think that Bo Nix increases their ceiling over Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson statistically had a good year last year. But if you watch the games, he didn't pass the eye test. Like people are like, well, he may not be as mobile, but he still has a great deep ball. Like, I'm sorry, but every time I watch him throw a pass over 30 yards, it's behind the receiver. So I don't think he has either. I think they designed the offense last year so he'd have a bunch of dink and dunk plays. And it was a lot of yards after catch. So I think
Yeah.
that their ceiling is much higher. However, I could see a situation where Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham, and Bo Nix are all competing in training camp, and they can't decide because all of them look unprepared to be a starting quarterback. So, so I'm not sure. 27 is, I think, pretty reasonable. They lost some talent this offseason too, and they're kind of in cap hell after Russell Wilson left, and they just lack draft capital too. That Russell Wilson trade was brutal. But we'll see. I think their ceiling could be okay. Jaleel McLaughlin and Javonte Williams are a pretty good 1-2 punch. Cortland Sutton still pleasantly surprises me every year. He's probably a good fantasy pickup this year. And their O-line is highly paid, but I don't know if they're good. So I don't know.
Yeah, and after losing Judy too, you lost another weapon. Obviously, their defense still has Surtain, Drew Sanders, those guys. So, um, you know, these guys are definitely like in my eyes, like maybe 6 wins, 5 wins. I don't know, so maybe 7 if they get lucky. Um, but I think this really all comes down to like the starting quarterback play, right? Like if you're starting Zach Wilson, it might help because he has the experience. Like start him out, and he's obviously been an NFL starter before. Jarrett Stidham, whatever his name is, he's not good. I think he was an XFL guy, right?
No, he was
In the
actually
XFL.
he was man, now I can't remember if he was on the Raiders. I think he was on the Raiders. Yeah. And he had that one game where he came in as a backup and he threw like 4 touchdowns. It was a surprisingly awesome Thursday night game. I think you give him a chance, honestly, because he was drafted by the Patriots. He's been in the league for a couple of years now. And they signed him to I think it was 2-year, $10 million. So why not give it a whirl? And I don't think Zach Wilson's the answer in the future. I think it's Stidham or Bo Nix. And knowing Sean Payton and how highly he's talked about Nix probably is day one starter.
Yeah, and he might be. And Sean Payton will make the best decision. He's a Super Bowl winning coach. So we'll see. We'll see how he does.
Yeah.
So at 26, we have the Arizona Cardinals. This is one of those teams where I'm like, you can kind of mix match with the Chargers or whatever. Mark believes in them to an extent. Like, it's not like he thinks they're playoff contenders, but they do have some potential. But 26, I think they have the 26th ranked potential, right? Like, I don't think they have
this
the
is
15th
closer
best
to their
team league
ceiling.
potential.
Yeah. This
Yeah,
ranking is
I
definitely
think
closer to their ceiling
exactly.
than the 4.
Like these power rankings are like where they're going to be at their best, like in our opinions, right?
Yeah, and we had give and
Like,
take. I was vouching for the Cardinals, and Nathan was like, "Sure, I'll give you a couple spots if you really believe in them." But I think they're going to be really watchable this year. Trey Benson and Marvin Harrison were great draft picks in my eyes. Kyler Murray finally having an offseason healthy and resting seems like a good thing. And Michael Wilson has some potential. Their defense leaves a lot to be desired. So we'll see. I think they'll be watchable, and that's the important part because last year they were unwatchable.
They got Connor, they got McBride, they got Marvin, Michael
McBride,
Wilson.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got some players, but 26 ranked team is definitely more than fair. With the teams coming up, there's definitely no way you can replace them, in my opinion. Like even this next team, the Vikings, who has some former Texans on them this year, they can't be replaced. But moving on to the Vikings in 25th, I think Mark and I kind of I don't know, maybe this is where we first started disagreeing a bit, where I thought the Vikings were a bit better, and Mark kind of brought it back to okay, yeah, but they, JJ McCarthy isn't really that, he's like Bo Nix might be better than JJ McCarthy, right? And he went after him.
Right.
I believe he should have went before Penix, but Penix went before him. So, there's obviously something there with JJ. And I think also the Vikings were desperate, right? Like the Vikings were definitely desperate to get a quarterback at that spot. I think that's why he went so high. Because losing Kirk, they're like, man, Penix leaves now. Like we got to get in front of them before someone else trades up and gets McCarthy or Bo Nix. And I think they just got lucky. McCarthy was there, but you do still have Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson. You got Grenard on the edge. You have Blake Cashman. You have Van Ginkel from the Dolphins, right?
Yeah.
You have um, who else? I mean, you
They
got
picked
James
up
Aaron
they picked up
Jones.
Aaron Jones. Yeah, and
Yeah, I mean,
the
so
running back room is a little bit of a concern because Aaron Jones obviously had trouble staying healthy last year. And behind him, I think they have Dwayne McBride. I can't remember. They have some people, but they're available in fantasy if you want to pick them up because they're not that
and they
great or
released
proven.
Alexander Madison last year
He
too.
was a disaster, absolute disaster.
He was bad, dude. He was real
Yeah,
bad.
their defense is okay, and their offense has a couple of great weapons, but other than that, super uninspiring. I think their O line is a problem, if I remember correctly. Um, I think they're also competing in a division where it's going to be tough to pick up division wins. You got the Bears, who are
Yeah.
sort of the new and improved version, finally with a quarterback, or so we think. We'll see what happens. And then you have the Lions and the Packers, who are I see them going 0-4 against the Lions and the Packers in the division. So we'll see what happens. I think that's the biggest thing going against them right now, and
There's
the
always
uncertainty.
upsets, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, 100%. All right,
Um,
24. We got the Steelers. This is another tough one. Steelers are a weird team. Nathan was talking on the phone about how Justin Fields is practicing taking kick returns, and Russell Wilson was declared the starter. It seems like a mess a little bit. Now it's tough to put them at 24 because this means they're finishing sub 500, which Tomlin has never done. But listen, records are made to be broken. Streaks come to an end. I don't think they finish above 500 unless they start Fields, which it seems like they won't because in his trade clause, he starts less than 50% of games for their draft compensation to the Bears to go up, and I don't think they will. So, so I don't know. Like they got Patrick Queen. What's his name? The wide receiver.
they lost Deontay.
They lost Deontay, but who's their wide receiver one? Like the
Oh,
really good
George
one.
Pickens.
Yeah, Pickens. Thank you. Pickens is a beast. Pat Fryermuth seems healthy, so we'll see. But I think they have some holes, and the quarterback situation seems a little too weird for me to be more in on them.
Yeah. Only thing I'm going to say about this is that they have the potential to be like a top 15 team. Um, the only reason we can't really put them there is the quarterback room and the receiving core. But Najee was great. What's his name? The backup. Jalen Warren, great. Um, Fryermuth had some really good catches, and then now you have TJ and Patrick Queen on the same defense. Like, they got some good safeties, they got some good corners, they have some other good D line help. And Queen is finally not next to Roquan Smith, and I think we might finally see Patrick Queen. Like, damn, dude, like he had some real, like he was, a big reason why the Ravens were winning all those games and stuff like that. We'll really see his like full potential. But yeah, Steelers are, like you said, just a weird team. Not really much to say. Just like they have really good potential, but it's pretty limited because of quarterbacks, receivers, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and we'll see how Joey Porter Jr. ends up doing this year. I think he kind of had a difficult start and ended up actually playing okay. Yeah, I completely forgot TJ Watt was on the team for a second. Thanks for mentioning him. Obviously,
Yeah.
a lot of people thought he should have won Defensive Player of the Year last year, but yeah, well said. Number 23, Washington Commanders. This is another one that I had to compromise on. In my eyes, the Commanders seem more like they should be at 26. Nathan really believes in them a lot, and he showed some of that by saying
Yeah.
that by declaring rather that they finish above the Cowboys in the division rankings, which he walked back a little bit, but it was brave to say that because I was enjoying every second of it. Nathan, why do you believe in the Commanders?
Yeah, so like I said, I do still believe that they can be better than the Cowboys in their division. But we do have to make some compromises and be somewhat realistic when it comes to power rankings because we're not going to put the Commanders in 12th place. Like it just can't happen. But I do think when it all plays out, and um, I think look, 23 is fair, right? This is way better than they would have been last year with Sam Howell at quarterback, right? You get Jaden Daniels, you get Bobby Wagner, you get Frankie Louvu, you get the uh, you get
Eckler.
Austin Eckler, you get Scary Terry is a really good receiver who's had 4 straight seasons of 1,000+ yards. The guy's a baller, right? And Jaden Daniels, and there's a lot of talk that Brandon Ayuk might be going there, and if he goes there, that 23 might be like an 18. Seriously, I mean, you
I could see
know
it.
that would boost their offense a ton. And Jaden Daniels is a great quarterback. He didn't go number 2 overall for no reason, right? He's dual threat. He can launch the ball and he can run, and that's what you need in today's game, right? Everyone can run at this point. I mean, to an extent. Everyone gets out of the pocket and can get their hands dirty, but he does it really well, just like Lamar, just like Kyler, and those type of guys. So, the Commanders, I really do believe in. I really do think they can have a really good year. Um, maybe sub 500, maybe, but I think their floor is about like 6 wins. I think their
Wow.
floor is
Okay.
about 6 wins, which is good. That's pretty
Yeah.
fair.
I think Jaden Daniels, by the way, super exciting watch at LSU. I do have my concerns about him. He definitely increases their ceiling, no doubt. But some of the free agent acquisitions, I was like, man, in 2019, this team would be amazing. But getting like
Yeah,
Bobby Wagner and Austin Eckler together, it's like we'll see. Austin Eckler had that one run last year. I can't remember who it was against, but he had like a 10 or 15 yard head start, and it looked like he was running underwater. Like he got caught immediately, and it's difficult for me to unremember that, but um, maybe it was because he was coming off an injury. I don't know, but we'll see how that goes. Bobby Wagner actually continues to prove that he still has it at this age. So yeah, I definitely
yeah,
think you could be right, and the Commanders could end up being like a 500 team. Um, we'll see. I think they'll be really watchable. So Brian Robinson too, good 1-2 punch with Eckler. So we'll see. Okay, number 22, the Seahawks. Speaking of Sam Howell, he ended up coming over there. Seahawks, they still have Geno. Geno experiment is going okay for now. His first year was a lot better than his second, but looks like he's going to start again. And they still have a lot of the same core pieces. Do you remember who they drafted? I remember they made a draft pick in the first round, and everyone was like, "Wow,
they got
what an
Byron
awesome pick!"
Murphy, who I wanted.
Yeah, Byron Murphy. That's right. Yeah, that was a great pick.
He tackled out of
Um,
Texas. Great pick.
mhm.
Great pick.
Yeah, yeah, awesome pick. Still have Metcalf, still have Lockett. It's pretty much
And
the
JSN
same team. And who?
and Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Oh yeah, JSN. Thank you. Yeah, and then Kenneth Walker still at running back. So it seems like pretty much the same
Zach
team on
Charbonnet.
offense.
I mean, they have some good players.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. Definitely not bad at all. But I think it's a situation kind of like uh, who was it? Which team? Oh, the Vikings, where they're just in a division where they have to play the 49ers and the Rams twice a year apiece. And I don't know, man. I kind of see them staying in the same place and sort of being like a 7-win team this year. What do you think, Nathan? How do you think they're going to perform record wise?
Yeah, new head coach, new GM, um, or maybe not a new GM, maybe just a new coach.
Yeah, he's from the
Um,
Ravens, Mike something. Pretty sure.
yeah, the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I think they have a decent shot at. And they also have a good defense. I mean, Christian Gonzalez is really good. Devin Witherspoon, like, dude, yeah, they have a really good defense. Um,
Isn't Christian
they did have
Gonzalez on the
Jordan.
Patriots?
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking Devin Witherspoon and Tariq
Witherspoon.
Woolen, right?
Okay, Woolen, yeah.
Tariq Woolen. So I mean, look, they have a good defense, decent offense. I think, yeah, Geno kind of holds them back a bit, but the Seahawks have always been kind of like mid for the past like 3-4 years, right? You think like they've always been kind of like that middling team.
Yeah.
So wouldn't expect too much out of them, but yeah, I mean, I think they'll be pretty entertaining though. I really want to see how Byron Murphy performs. Like he was the guy that I wanted to trade up for, and I probably would have given up like 3 first rounders for him, honestly.
Wow.
But that's neither here nor
Yeah.
there. So we'll see. But here's a good team to talk about: the Las Vegas Raiders. Um, the only thing I'm going to say about this team is that me and Mark were talking about it. It's really coming down to quarterback. I've seen comments, we want AOC. I've seen comments, we want Minshew Mania. But they did get Christian Wilkins, right? They do have Max Crosby. They still have Devontae, who has said that he's being recruited to the Jets by Aaron Rodgers. They said the same thing last season, right? Probably not going to happen. Let's be real. Um, but the Raiders are like, only reason they're here is because their defense, right? Like, let's be honest. They're only here because they have Max Crosby and they got Christian Wilkins and they have Devontae Adams. Those 3 people right there. And they lost Josh Jacobs. Who did they even replace him with? Did they even get anybody?
Zamir White's going to take the RB1 role. He was behind Jacobs last year, and I think he started the last like 4 games and played really well. So
Okay.
he's
Well,
looking.
hopefully,
I've seen some really shining reports about him over the summer. Like the dude's in shape. Yeah, they have Jacoby Myers still great wide receiver too. Played well last year. So and of course they drafted Brock Bowers. So I don't think it's just the defense. I think the Raiders are.
I mean, they got Michael Mayer last year. Like, it was a stupid
Yeah.
pick, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but I think they're firmly the second best team in the AFC West. Like I think the Broncos and Chargers are third and fourth, whatever order you want to put them in. But the Raiders, I think especially if you start Minshew, because even though I get it, like you don't want to start the veteran who's always been just good but isn't your answer in the future. I think if you start Minshew, he's got a lot of weapons. Zamir White, I think, is going to have a breakout season. The defense isn't bad. I really do think they could be a 10-win team, probably at their ceiling. But yeah, not much more. I think they're going to be a good team. That's about it.
Yeah, and they might, but we'll see. We'll see how the Raiders season goes. I really want to see their defense and their offense kind of like see what they can do together. But
Yeah.
next the Falcons. Mark, you started us off with this one, dude.
Man, this was a tough one. We moved the Falcons around a lot in this power ranking. 20 is on the surface to probably anyone but us incredibly low for the Falcons. I understand they're playing in the NFC South. They have a couple free wins against the Panthers and stuff. Man, maybe they are too low. I don't know. But we just couldn't put them above the teams that are above them. We just kept saying, I think they're a better team than the Falcons. I think they're – and you know what? Like, this is the power rankings. Maybe the Falcons have a better record than the 4 teams above them, but I don't think they're a better team than them. That's what it comes down to. So That's why we have them at 20. We both agree that the Buccaneers are better than them too. So that kind of shaped our reasoning here. But Falcons, listen, Kirk Cousins might not start the season. It might be Penix. Maybe he does. I don't know. They have weapons on offense who just sort of refuse to break out. Like we've been saying the same thing about who's the tight end?
Drake
I can't even remember his
London.
name. No, tight end.
Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts, thank you. I can't even remember his name. That helps my point. Kyle Pitts just cannot break out, and he has all the tools. He needs someone to throw it to him. So hopefully, if Cousins can stay healthy, that actually happens. They have Bijan, who is their best player, in my opinion, and then Drake London, Drake London actually has shown a lot of flashes. Like he can be a bona fide wide receiver 1. So I think he'll have a good year too. I think he's overdrafted right now in fantasy, but I think he'll have a solid year. But I mean, it gets real tough after that. Like, I don't know who the wide receiver 2 for the Falcons is, if I'm being quite honest. I can't think of him. And
No.
they have weapons on offense. They didn't address the defense in the draft like they should have. So I just think that their defense is kind of a sieve, and then their offense has the potential to be really exciting. They finished 7-10 last year in the worst division in the NFL. I don't think they got a whole lot better. So they did get better in the one position that matters most, which is quarterback. Desmond Ridder was a disaster. They fired their head coach, Arthur Smith. That was the right move. How will they be this year? I don't know. A lot of like NFL media and analysts are putting them top 12 in the power rankings and solidifying them as the winners of the NFC South. I think that's kind of crazy. I think it's all projection right now. And we're going to see what happens, man. Like everyone, it's year 4 or 5 now of people drafting Kyle Pitts as tight end number 3. And I'm not buying it. So what do you think, Nathan?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything. Everything you said was pretty much what I was going to say. There's no argument that Bijan's their best player. There's no argument that Kirk is a better quarterback than Desmond Ridder. And when you get a better quarterback and you kind of upgrade your team a bit, you're most likely going to get better, especially when you get a better quarterback because that's the most important position, right? So Falcons are right where they need to be at 20. That you could maybe fluctuate them a little bit with 22, 20, whatever you feel. But this is the way we thought, and I think we did it pretty good.
Yeah, and who are their DBs again? I know they have Grady Jarrett, who kind of anchors their D line, but they have
They
they
have
have a
Jesse
couple of
Bates,
studs.
who's the best safety in the league too.
Jesse
So
Bates. I'm thinking of one
and they
more,
got
but
Terrell, AJ Terrell.
AJ Terrell. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, yeah. So they
He's
have
a
some
stud.
players, but I think it's just they lack in the meat and potatoes department. They have some good anchors, but not much after that. So
Yeah.
19 Tennessee Titans, and so we have our first member of the AFC South. We've talked about it in past episodes. We think this division could be a juggernaut. And having your last place team at number 19 kind of says a lot because they're in the middle third of all the NFL teams. But this was a tough one because we had trouble deciding which team is going to be better, the Titans or the Jaguars. And I've been leaning Titans. I had Jaguars being slightly better after looking at schedules, but Titans, they just added a lot this offseason. It really depends on Will Levis, but they've added a lot on both sides of the ball. And it kind of depends. Like if their free agent acquisitions all end up being as good or better than what we think they're going to be, they're going to be a tough game twice a year. Great wide receiver core, added L'Jarius Sneed, Tony Pollard, and Tyjae Spears are a fantastic running back duo in my eyes. Their D line seems like it could use some work, and their linebacking core. I think that might end up being where we kill them. But they most definitely have some talent. They spent a lot of money getting people of the likes of Calvin Ridley and L'Jarius Sneed here this offseason. So also they just picked up Jamal Adams today, which we don't really care about, quite honestly. He's sort of a has-been in our eyes, but maybe he'll be good. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure
But
he'll
they've
help.
been trying. They're trying.
Yeah,
So.
they have. I mean, they're doing better than a lot of other teams, right? Like the Titans are definitely trying to be contenders in their own division and not be a pushover, which is what they would have been if they didn't do what they did. So there's not much to say about the Titans. Everyone really knows how much I actually kind of like the Titans, right? Like, I mean, I don't like the Titans organization, but the players that they have, I mean, there's no argument that they've gotten way better from last year. The only person limiting them is kind of Will Levis, but he showed flashes. And I think with these amount of weapons, I mean, dude, the sky's the limit for Will Levis. If he can really just hit all his hit the guys in stride and get the ball to the receivers and into their hands and don't make mistakes to a certain extent. Everyone's going to make mistakes, but limit the mistakes, right? Because I don't believe their defense can. This is where what else is going to kill them. If they turn the ball over on offense, I don't believe the defense can hold the other team to field goals or get the ball back with a turnover or force punts in a way where mistakes don't really affect you. Kind of like a Texans defense where we have a really good defense where if CJ doesn't get the first down, we kind of know like our defense can hold their own and probably get the ball back in CJ's hands. I don't see that with their defense yet because we got to see how their defensive line and middle linebackers play. But their offense is really fun. I also really like L'Jarius Sneed, the pickup for L'Jarius. So, I'm excited for him, man. Congrats to the Titans fan base. At least they'll have football to watch. So,
Yeah, they spent a lot of money, but in my eyes, they spent it pretty well. So it's more than a lot of other teams can say. All right, number 18, Jacksonville Jaguars. So we have our second AFC South team, and we had just mentioned how difficult it was to rank these teams. Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, will he break out? We'll see. Had some injury issues last year. They got off to a really hot start, and I will say when the injuries start happening is kind of when their record got worse, so it makes sense. They were a pretty unlucky team last year. They could be a lot better than this ranking. Like, it's definitely possible, and that's kind of what had us put the Jags over the Titans is just like sort of what the Jags have proven over the last couple of years is that they've been a better team, a solidly better team than the Titans over the last 2 years. So, we'll see. They picked up Eric or Arik Armstead or Arik. I've heard like 3 or 4 different versions of his name, and I'm not sure which one is right. So I'm just going to go with Eric. Picked him up and then lost Calvin Ridley, but got Gabe Davis. Picked up Mac Jones as a backup. So, that's something. Other than that, am I missing anyone? I feel like that's about all that happened with their free agency. And then they drafted what's his name, the 4th wide receiver,
Brian Johnson.
Yeah, Brian Johnson Jr.
Or Brian Johnson.
That's right. Yeah. So I think their wide receiver room got maybe a little worse actually, but I think they're a good team still. ETN is a dog, so I don't know. What else do you have to say about him? Because Tank Bigsby, yeah, he's still on my dynasty team somehow. He's next one to go, man. Like if I need to pick someone up, he's gone, but he's hanging on for dear life. So
yeah, Jaguars are they were a tough team to kind of put like in front of the Titans for me. But I kind of wanted to be like, okay, look, this is kind of like an 18-19 like A and B type of deal. Like I can't really decide, but let's just go with the Jaguars above them. The Jags are they're still a decent team. I do think the Titans will be better, but right now, after all the acquisitions, I'm still going to put the Jaguars above them because of Trevor Lawrence, right? Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback. He just got paid a stupid amount of money, and I just think that he can do more with the ball than Will Levis can for now. So we'll see what happens.
Yep.
But next we got the Bucs, dude. Best game I've ever been to was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Houston Texans last year. By far the best game I've ever seen in real life. It was amazing, bro. And I'll say this, the Bucs are a tough ass team. Tough. They were tough last year. And, after getting Baker on a $100 million deal, getting Evans back, getting some of those key players back, I think the 17 is right where they need to be, right? They're the best team in their division after the Falcons, the Panthers, and the Saints. So they're the only team to crack the top 20. Well, I guess Falcons too. So 2 teams in that division cracked the top 20. But I like the Bucs, dude. Like I think they have a good team. I think they have the tools they need to make. They made the playoffs last year and they won the first round against the Eagles. They kicked their ass. So the Bucs have what it takes to win their division. I do still think they'll win their division, despite what anyone thinks about the Falcons. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for them too.
100% agree. Yeah, we're in agreement on the NFC South. Buccaneers. I can't believe people are writing them off and just putting the Falcons at first. They've won the division the last 2 years. I find myself rooting for them every time I watch them. I like Baker.
Yeah.
I like Mike Evans. Chris Godwin hopefully can have a better year than last year. Antoine Winfield was given the franchise tag, I believe. They're a fun team, and I wish I had been at that game. Obviously, it's tougher for me to make games because I live in New Braunfels, but I was standing for like the entire second half of that game when Dare hit the field goal to put us up like 33-30. Mike Evans was having some amazing catches in that game.
We forced a fumble and he caught. I don't even know how he caught it, dude. Like
unreal.
Dude,
and then
it
I think
literally.
that was the game where Noah Brown had that catch where he streaked across the field, caught it, and then took a turn down the sideline. If I'm not mistaken, it may have been another game, but just
and
an
then
amazing
whenever
game.
what's their tight end? God damn, what's his
Buccaneers tight
name?
end. Oh, Kate Otten.
Kate Otten. He fucking caught that ball from Baker. A beautiful pass by Baker Mayfield. Beautiful. I mean, it was
He was slinging it,
the
dude.
only pass that could have happened to catch. And Henry Toto was on Kate Otten, let him score. You got 46 seconds. First pass was to Dalton. Second was to Noah. Third was to Dalton when he tried to hurdle and he fell on his face. And then the fourth was to Tank on the corner route, gets out of bounds, gets both feet in, and the touchdown, dude. I mean, there was a Bucs
Unbelievable.
fan sitting right down the aisle, and we were just everyone was going nuts, and he's just like that,
Can't
dude,
believe
just
it.
pissed.
Yeah,
Like,
that
he's the
was
man. That's when
an
everyone knew that
unbelievable
CJ
game.
was him.
Yeah, that was the
Everyone
game,
knew.
100%. That was an incredible game. That was also my favorite game of the season. Well, yeah, it was my favorite. I mean, I could say the Colts game because we made the playoffs and then Browns.
Colts or the
That was
Browns
my favorite
playoff
game.
game was badass, dude.
Yeah, I watched the replays on this one. I picked up Kate Otten in fantasy after this game too, just because of that last play. But what an amazing game. And I think that's part of the reason why I like watching the Buccaneers now is just that game and the offensive display that they put on. It was incredible to watch. So yeah, but I think we both think they're going to win the NFC South. We'll see. Number 16, Chicago Bears. Bears are going to be interesting this year. We both see them as sort of like a 9-8 type of team, maybe a ceiling a little higher. The problem, again, being that they're in the division with the Lions and the Packers. But, I mean, talk about a fantastic draft. You get Caleb Williams and Roma Dunze, beefed up the wide receiver core also with Keenan Allen. You picked up DeAndre Swift to be in the running back room. You have guys like Sweat and I think his name is
Jalen
Johnson. Jalen Johnson, yeah. On your defense.
And then you got Cole
they're
Kmet at tight end.
Yeah, they're an exciting team. They're going to be so fun to watch on offense. Kind of lies on Caleb's shoulders to see what their ceiling truly is. But any more thoughts?
Nah, just same exact thing we talked about prior. It's just about Caleb. Bears are exciting though. Super excited to see how they play. 15, I got the Cowboys. Unfortunately, we got to be realistic to a certain extent. I think this is perfect. I think 15 is right where they need to be. They could miss the playoffs this year, which is why I have them at 15. So, I think the Cowboys are in that kind of area where they didn't do enough in the offseason to make me believe that they deserve to be higher than 15 here. And that's the only reason they're here. Also, there's a lot of stuff going on, dude. Like they said, if CD doesn't get over 32 million, like he's requesting a trade. Like, I mean, the morale is low in Dallas right now. Like, I don't know. I don't really.
It is. Yeah, Van Der Esch, even though he wasn't that big of an impact lately, he retired. And then Dak still hasn't been paid. We're all waiting on that. But and I understand how on the surface this could look like kind of a homer pick to have the Cowboys at 15. Eagles are a better team than the Cowboys as of now, despite their epic collapse last year. But it's just they didn't do a lot. They didn't do a lot, and they're kind of running it back a little bit, but with a worse squad. And I don't know. Yeah, morale seems low. CD, if I were a betting man, would probably be on the Cowboys this season. But things are looking kind of uncertain, and I really think that the most likely outcome of this year is Cowboys win 8 or 9 games. McCarthy gets fired. and they're sort of in limbo for a little bit. Micah Parsons continues to be amazing, so we'll see.
Yeah. All right, Mark. The New York Jets. One thing. They have a great defense, a good offense. We're only waiting on one player, and that's Aaron Rodgers. That's the only reason they're at 14, because if they didn't have Aaron Rodgers, they would be a clear cut, maybe 24-25.
Ooh, I think they'd be higher than that, but okay.
I mean, not with Zach Wilson, right? They had
No,
they had every single tool you mentioned, right? Sauce, all those guys with Zach Wilson last year, and they only won 7 games,
they won.
whatever the
Yeah,
case.
they won 7. I'm saying like if they had gone and picked up a guy like Gardner Minshew or something, even with Tyrod
Yeah,
Taylor in
yeah,
my
but like,
eyes, they're an 8 or 9 win team.
yeah, maybe, right? But like,
Yeah,
Zach Wilson also needed. He can't. I'm not saying he's a great quarterback at all, but he did us pretty dirty, and I thought he could sling the ball well, and but there was also games where he did the exact same thing, and just players weren't making plays and stuff like that. So, but again, with Aaron Rodgers, they're going to be a way better team, healthy, and we're going to see how that plays out. They got Tyron Smith
better O
from the
line. Yeah,
Cowboys. He's a Hall of Famer, but he's not really all that good anymore. 1 year, $20 million, way overpaid. So we'll see how that goes. Enough with the Jets. This is where this comes in. Mark is in love with the Buffalo Bills, and
all
I am
right,
sorry for
all right.
anyone watching. The Bills are trash. They are terrible. They lost so many players. They lost their biggest weapon, Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen, yeah, he can sling the ball, but he also turns the ball over like crazy, right? And imagine you lose your biggest weapon, Stephon Diggs, and now you're turning the ball over with scrubs like Khalil Shakur and who's there? They got Keon Coleman, who's a rookie,
I'm
who's
sorry.
pretty
Are
known
you
for being
referring to
slow.
Curtis the Goat Samuel as a scrub?
I mean, he's
Listen,
he's
listen,
whatever.
listen, listen here. All right,
James Cook is good too, though. James
you've
Cook
had your
is good.
fun, 100%. He's great. The Bills at 13. I think I compromised too much. I mean, I know you think they're going to be a 7-win team this year, or whatever. Is that right? You think they're going to win 7 or 8 games?
Maybe.
Wow, that's disrespectful. Listen, the
It is
Bills,
what it
yeah,
is.
their wide receiver core is not as good as it was last year. They lost some
Neither is their
pieces in the
safety.
defensive secondary. I'm telling it how it is. They lost some pieces in the secondary, specifically Poyer. Tre'Davious White hadn't played a full season in like 2 or 3 years. But Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I know he has turnovers. He is one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the NFL. He can still sling the ball like crazy. James Cook is a great running back. Like we saw him in games last year carry the team. You have Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, Chase Claypool, and who's the last one that they picked up? Oh, Keon Coleman in the draft.
Yeah.
So the wide receiver room leaves a lot to be desired. I'll give you that. Keon Coleman could break out. Khalil Shakir could break out. If none of them break out, I wouldn't be surprised either. I think their defense is still really solid. Matt Milano, fantastic linebacker. They still have young pieces in the secondary, and Ed Oliver, University of Houston grad, shout out to him, anchors their D line. They did lose Tim Settle to us, who I think was their starter, maybe rotational D tackle. But I still think the Bills, with all their playoff experience, they've been a great team over the last 4 years, perennial playoff contenders. I don't think that's something that just disappears and they become a 7-win team because they lose Stephon Diggs and a couple of guys in their secondary. I think that Josh Allen is a winner, and I think that they're going to win a lot of games this year. I think that their floor is 9 and their ceiling is 12. And I get it. Like you think they're going to be below 500, but if I'm a betting man and the line for wins is sitting at 8.5, I'm banging the over. And yeah, that's just about all there is to it. I think they're still a great football team.
Yeah, we'll just have to agree to disagree because I don't think
Yeah,
they
I
will
mean,
be.
hey, listen,
But
this
it
this
is
10
what
to
it is.
15 range was highly disputed. So,
Yeah, it
we
was.
all we made concessions.
12, the Dolphins. Obviously, have to put them above the Bills with Tua,
Okay.
Tyreek, Jalen, Odell, Braxton Berrios, Davon, uh, Raheem Mostert. Um, really good guys. I mean, Jalen Ramsey, Jordan Phillips, uh, Jordan Brooks, like really good linebacking core.
Yep, Bradley Chubb too.
Also, Bradley Chubb, like, come on. Dolphins are really good. Great offense, great defense. Kind of the same team. They did lose Christian Wilkins to the Raiders, so their D line will be a little bit worse. I guess a
And
lot
they
worse,
lost
right? Because he was a
Andrew Van Ginkel too to the Vikings.
to the Vikings. So um, Dolphins are still a good team. Still can be over. They're still be over 500, I believe. Still make a wild card, I think, maybe. Um, it's a tough football season this year, guys. Tough. Like it's going to be tough for every team to make the playoffs at this point because there's so many teams where it's like iffy, right? Like there's so many divisions where there could be like three winners, right? You just don't know what's going to happen. So we'll see. Dolphins, we have them at 12. I think we agreed. Um, I actually don't think they deserve. I think they deserve to be at 11 coming up. But this is another one of those things where we're gonna have to, make some compromise. You'll see, and we'll talk about it. But
Yeah.
11, we have the Colts. And Mark, I want you to go ahead.
Yeah, I am going to start here. I was advocating for the Colts as high as 6 or 7. Now I knew that I probably wouldn't end up putting them there, but in the division ranking episode, I think we ranked. I think we did the AFC South records episode, the overview, and I had the Colts tied with us in first at 12-5, with us holding the tiebreaker. Um, Listen, I get it. Anthony Richardson is not proven. He played 4 games, couldn't stay on the field. The Colts gave us a run for our money with Gardner Minshew. Their defense is so solid. They re-signed Michael Pittman, who looks more and more like a true wide receiver one each year. Got A.D. Mitchell in the draft, another good weapon. And I just think that Anthony Richardson is going to ball out this year. I really do. And so a lot of my 12-5 ranking is projection, which is why I was willing to concede spots in the power rankings to Nathan to lower the Colts, because I get it. Projection is really nothing at the end of the day. Like it's more, the past is a better predictor of what you're going to do rather than projecting. But I really firmly believe that the Colts are going to win 10 plus games, no doubt about it. Jonathan Taylor is only 26, I think, and he continues to be a powerhouse at the Derrick Henry level against us every year. So yeah, I think they re-signed like DeForest Buckner and whoever their other D lineman was long term, and then they picked up someone in the draft too at D line. But
Yeah,
I
they
just think
got
they're a talented team on both sides of the ball.
Tuli Tapua, whatever his name is.
Yeah, that was their first pick. Yeah,
Yeah, first defensive player
can't
drafted.
remember. Liatu. So
Latupont, whatever. We know who it is.
oh yeah, Hawaiian name. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I think they could be as high as probably 7 or 8. But yeah, I understand your eyes high on them and their division rival, so it's easy to not be as high on them. But I think Anthony Richardson is a fantastic watch, and he's got all the tools. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I like Anthony Richardson. Mark knows I wanted Anthony Richardson before we got Stroud. The dream scenario was to get AR and then Quentin Johnson. But obviously, I'm glad neither of those worked out.
I was never high on
So
Quentin. Yeah,
yeah, you weren't, but I did like Anthony. I liked AR though. I really did like
AR would have
Anthony
been a
Richardson.
fine pick at 2 in my
Yeah,
eyes.
he
Like I
would
would
have.
have had no
He's
problem
still a
with it.
good pick for the Colts, by the way. Like I'm
Yeah,
not saying
100%.
he's terrible. He got hurt, which is one of the reasons why they clown the Colts for picking him that high because he's not as experienced and he has health problems. Well, he has a problem staying healthy, with just injuries. Because he gets out of the pocket so much, because he puts his body in harm's way so much. Um, and it happened, right? Colts fans know it happened. So,
Yeah.
you know, and then here we go with the sorry ass Browns. We kicked their ass, won a playoff game, did it at home with a packed out crowd. Um,
I was at the
And they
wrong
have
Browns game, man.
Deshaun Watson, former Texan. He's not worth $50 million, let alone
Did
$250 million.
did he play for the Texans? Deshaun Watson? I remember.
Uh,
I blocked it out.
Actually, you know what?
Um,
Yeah, I'm tripping. I'm tripping.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
But he's not
Browns.
worth 50, and he's definitely not worth 250, guaranteed. By the way, crazy contract. But I like Amari Cooper. I like Jerry Jeudy. Love Myles Garrett, Greg Newsome, Denzel Ward, um, Nick Chubb coming back, um, David Njoku. Really good team. Browns are a really good team. They definitely deserve to be in the top 10. Obviously, Deshaun it's kind of lying on his shoulders again. Every team now, after Deshaun, is going to not really rely on quarterback, right? Because their quarterbacks are in a safe place. I think like the teams, right, Mark, from 9 through 1, like quarterbacks are set. It's just team around them, morale. Can we put it all together, right? Can scheme work? All
Yeah,
all that type of stuff.
yeah. It's just you can't put the Browns lower than 10 in my eyes. Their defense last year was maybe one of the greatest units of the 21st century. It was unbelievable. So
Really good
yeah,
team.
so we'll go ahead and move on from the Browns. They're going to be an interesting watch with Watson. Number 9, we have the LA Rams. I was sort of advocating a little higher, but this seems like the right spot for them. Lost by 1 point to the Lions in the playoffs last year. What a playoff game that was. Rams, they excite me. They draft extremely well. I think they're a very well-run, well-coached team. That makes a difference in a lot of seasons. Stafford continues to be a phenomenal thrower of the ball. Really smart
Is he a Hall of
quarterback.
Famer?
Yes, he is, in my eyes, for sure. I know a lot of people either pause to think or say no, but I think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Calvin Johnson is a Hall of Famer because of Stafford being such a good quarterback. And although they never really got to be successful, super successful together, Stafford was able to be super successful with the LA Rams team, who they did build up. It was a super squad, but still, he's still a great quarterback.
Yeah, I
Still a
think
great.
saying Calvin Johnson is a Hall of Famer because of Stafford may not be very accurate, but Stafford definitely helped because he's always been a great quarterback. But their team right now, Puka, obviously a smashing success. I think Cooper Kupp's going to have a resurgent year. Demarcus Robinson's a great 3, and then Kyron had a great year. They drafted really well. 2 D tackles from Florida State, Fisk, and I can't remember the other one. And I think that I think they're a well-rounded team, a really young team too. Yeah, I just think they're very well-rounded from coaching to ownership to players, both sides of the ball. I think they need a kicker. Last year, if I'm not mistaken, their kicker was awful. But I can't even remember his name. But he missed some 35 yarders. It was a tough watch. But anything else to say about the Rams?
No.
Yeah, I think they're just solid all around. Let's move on. Green Bay Packers, everyone's darling pick this year due to Jordan Love breaking out. Josh Jacobs is a fun ad. Nathan, do you think 8 is the right spot for the Packers?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good, dude. I mean, they're definitely top 10, right? Like
Yeah.
after seeing them perform in the playoffs, kicking the Cowboys' ass, and I thought they were going to beat the 40. They played the 49ers second round, right?
Yeah.
Or third round? I thought they were going to take that one home. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. They have so much potential, man. So much potential. Like these next couple teams are like really going to be close for that like number 1 spot, right? Packers can definitely be the best team in the NFC. They could, right? And they're in the same division as the team that I think will be the best in the AFC. I mean the NFC, the
Yeah, me
Lions.
too.
So Packers have a really well-rounded squad all around. Jair, they got the Xavier McKinney from the Giants. You have Josh Jacobs. You add him. Do they still have the other running back that was in front of
Oh,
Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon?
yeah, they still have him. I know Packers fans. I think there were a few viral clips or whatever of like AJ Dillon can't run more than 5 yards without falling down, and Packers fans are kind of annoyed with him. But yeah, they still do have him.
Still
I
a
think.
decent 2 option.
Yeah, it's not
He's a
bad for
bulldozer.
sure.
He'll get you 1 yard.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
Christian Watson, Jalen Reed. Yeah. I mean,
Jaden
really
Reed. Yeah,
well-rounded
they drafted
squad.
really well. They drafted super well. There was that stat of like Josh Jacobs, the oldest player on offense for them or something. Just insane.
Yeah, like at 26 years old or 27, he's the oldest player on offense. Like something crazy.
Yeah, you never see
So
that.
that's good. It's good for them.
Yeah,
You
they're
have
just an
anything to say
exciting
about him?
watch. No, I'm excited to watch them next year. They're a fun watch. Number
Yeah.
7, we got the Philadelphia Eagles. So here's the deal with them. Saquon is going to make them a great team. I cannot forget is another word for that. I cannot forget their epic collapse last year. I mean, they were 11-1 and finished 11-6, if I'm not mistaken. It was one of the greater collapses of a great NFL team I've ever seen. And it's sort of not even talked about. Everyone forgot. Everyone's like, oh, Howie's the wizard. He drafted well again, and free agency went well, and the Eagles are just going to continue to be a powerhouse. I'm sorry, but Steichen was on the hot seat last year. Like, I really thought on Black Monday he was going to be fired. You had A.J. Brown throwing fits after each game. Jalen Hurts looked unemotional on the field. It was a bizarre scene. Did I say Steichen? That's not right. He coaches the Colts.
No, you said yeah, Shane Steichen coaches the Colts and Nick Sirianni coaches the
Sirianni,
Eagles.
thank you. Yeah. Sirianni was
Steichen
on the
did
hot
coach
seat
the
last
Eagles
year.
before the Colts, though.
He did. Yeah, that's
He
why
was
I got
their
it
coordinator.
confused. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, maybe they brush past that. I think Saquon was just an incredible ad. It's gonna be so exciting to see him. I don't know. What do you think? Because they're a hard team to rank just due to their epic collapse, but they're really good free agency and draft.
Everything you said is right. Hard team to rank, but I'm more excited about their secondary. Like their defense is it's gonna be amazing, dude. Their
They added
defense is gonna be the
Tajin.
best in the league, I swear. Everyone watch. The Eagles defense is gonna be the best defense in the league. After you get they got Cooper DeJean in the 2nd round. I mean, the dude was a projected 1st-round pick. And then they get old dude from Toledo, he was the best corner in the draft. And then they still have they got what's his name back from the Lions.
Oh yeah, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
CJ. Yeah. They got him back. They got Jalen Carter going to step up in Fletcher Cox's spot.
I'm not trying to disrespect them. Who's their other corner that they've had forever?
Oh man, dude,
I can't remember.
But
yeah, I think Fletcher Cox retired, and so did Jason Kelce. So those are 2 big losses.
Jason Kelce.
Yeah. I'm totally blanking on him.
Quinyon Mitchell was the James Bradbury.
Not who I'm thinking of either.
No, I don't think that's him. But I will say Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, still got a really good receiving core. All that type of stuff is going to be really good for them. They Jordan Davis is still on their team. So there's a lot of things that are looking up for those guys. Nolan Smith is coming back. He's going to have they got Devin White from the Bucks.
I'm thinking of Darius Slay, by the way. Darius Slay.
Yeah. Oh, Darius Slay. I mean, dude, like they're Reed Blankenship at safety. Like, dude, just really good stuff. Really
Darius
good stuff.
Slay, if you're watching this, I would never forget about you. I didn't want to disrespect you by leaving you out. So just send me like a card or something. All right. The Eagles are gonna be a great watch. They're gonna make the Cowboys' lives difficult. Number 6, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. And listen, I know we talk about like how you shouldn't rely on projection, but in my eyes, this isn't projection because Joe Burrow had a whole season. I know his injury was kind of weird, and he's talking about like no one's ever had this injury before, and his rehab seems kind of weird and iffy. I think he's going to be good to go. Joe Burrow's a tough dude, and I think they're going to sort of pick up where they left off. in 2022 or 2023, excuse me, and just be a really exciting offense. They have who is it? Zach Moss and Chase Brown at running back. That's a pretty good combo in my eyes. Their defense is good, pretty good, but I think their offensive weapons, like they kept T. Higgins, no more Tyler Boyd, but that's not a huge loss in my eyes. I think Joe Burrow is just a top 5 quarterback when healthy, and he'll definitely be a difference maker as long as he's healthy and playing. I think the Bengals are a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Bengals are Super Bowl contender if Joe Burrow stays healthy. Their backup actually did pretty well for them while he was hurt. So,
Jake Browning,
we'll see what happens with the Bengals. Not much to talk about. They're just like I think everyone agrees all around if Joe Burrow's healthy, they're a top 10 team. And I think this is just where we put him because he is healthy this year. So
yeah, could the Eagles and Packers be better? Like, sure, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, but they went to Bengals went to a Super Bowl not too long ago. So did the Eagles, but Bengals are still a really good team. Still have basically the same team minus a couple players. So yeah, we'll just keep them there. Number 5, the only reason they're here is because they went to the Super Bowl last year. Not discrediting that they don't have a lot of talent on their team, but they did lose Chase Young. Brandon Ayuk doesn't seem to want to be there. Brock Purdy is only as good as his receivers, right? According to everybody, he's a system quarterback. Nick Bosa is still really good. They lost Eric Armstead. Dre Greenlaw had a really bad Achilles tear. Shavarius Ward's getting older. Hufunga is still really good. But yeah, man, I just think they're kind of on the decline. That's why they're on 5 instead of a 2 where some people would put 1 is the winner of the Super Bowl and 2 is the runner-up. This is our power rankings for what we think is the way the team is going to be moving. This is the trend they're going to be on this year. So we think we put them at 5.
Yeah, and I was originally advocating that they be higher, more about the 3 range, because they still have Christian McCaffrey, best running back in the NFL. You still have Brandon Ayuk on your roster, along with Deebo Samuel, who's just a huge X factor. Great offensive line. I think they have a fantastic defense still. I understand that there have been losses and injuries. But yeah, the more Nathan talked about their losses and stuff, I kind of agree that 5 is the right spot for him.
I'm sorry. And also they have the best middle linebacker in the league, Fred Warner. I forgot to mention that.
Yes, yeah, definitely should mention Fred Warner.
He's a dog.
Now, could they go back to the Super Bowl? 100% they could. I could totally see that. But for now, due to the losses and the injuries, I think 5 is the right spot because I think they're still a contender.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move on to 4. Detroit Lions. This was 4 and 3 were the most heavily debated rankings that Nathan and I had. Listen, the Lions are a great team. They had a great offseason. They're extremely well-rounded. They have a lot of weapons. Jared Goff is a really good quarterback. Is he great? I don't know. He has great games. When he plays at home, he's unbelievable. Struggles on the road. You got arguably the best 1-2 punch at running back in the NFL, David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Gibbs looked fantastic last year. So did Montgomery. No one was expecting that. Amon-Ra St. Brown, bona fide number 1 wide receiver, top 5, no doubt. They bolstered their defense so much. I was looking at their secondary, their depth chart for their secondary. It's unbelievable. I couldn't believe how good it was. Yeah. And then you have Aiden Hutchinson on the D line. They had a DJ Reader next to him. You have Sam Laporta, who was incredible last year. I mean, he and Jahmyr Gibbs were absolutely home run, slam dunk, touchdown picks, whatever you want to call it.
Top 5 tight end already in the league.
Already, yeah. And I would pick him number 1 in fantasy personally, in tight ends, not overall. But yeah, man, that Terrion Arnold was like a phenomenal trade up pick. Had the Detroit crowd going crazy, and yeah, I just think they're super well rounded. Dan Campbell is such a great head coach to have. He's a guy you want to play for, and man, I just think that the home field advantage that their crowd brings too at Ford Stadium or Arena is like no other, really. So
Yeah. No, I mean, same thing. Lions are a really good team. They can be better than the Packers. They can be better than the 49ers. That's why obviously have them above those two guys. So that's where we're going to keep them at until, we get proven otherwise, I think. I think we've made this list pretty well so far to where we think everyone will kind of end up. But next, moving on to number 3 spot, we have the Houston Texans. Everyone knows the next 2 teams because we haven't said them already. And the reason that we're behind those 2 teams is because we can't beat them. The Chiefs, I'm still scarred by that game. I don't know about you, Mark. I'm still scarred. We were up 20, was it 21-24-0, and then we just lost it.
24-0.
And then
everyone remembers where they were
Yeah.
for that game. I was in a Buffalo Wild Wings
Yeah.
in Opelika, Alabama, and I was the only Texans fan there, and there were 3 tables of Chiefs fans. And at first, I was thrilled, and then my day and possibly year was just ruined. So, where were you when that game happened? I think Nathan might be having some connection issues, but I'll go ahead and talk about the Texans still. 3 seemed a little high for me. I was kind of debating between Lions and Texans. 3 and 4, they seemed a little interchangeable. We just had some additions this offseason, and we had such a fantastic year last year that it's impossible for me, at least, to not put us top 5. And our offense is perhaps the best in the league. I still, like I said, can't put us ahead of Mahomes or Lamar Jackson just because we can't beat him. But will that change this year? We play them both back-to-back with a little rest. We'll see. But adding Stephon Diggs, Danielle Hunter on the D-line, Azeez Al-Shaair at linebacker, Danico Autry on the D-line, Joe Mixon at running back. I mean, we just have some phenomenal additions that are super exciting, along with our mainstays who have been with us since the draft, like Derek Stingley, Will Anderson, CJ Stroud, of course, and Nico Collins and Tank Dell. So, Nathan, what do you think, man? Like any other thoughts? Because obviously we talk about the Texans every day. We live, breathe, eat, and sleep Texans. How do you feel about this ranking? You feel pretty confident?
Yeah, I mean, I just think we have a high ceiling, and I think everyone sees that. So we got a lot of pressure. So we'll see how we handle that pressure. I think 3 is the right spot. So yeah, we'll see. I do really believe in us being third, behind them too, unless we can beat them, and then we'll be number 1 or number 2. But
Right.
yeah, I really hope that we can live up to what we're hoping to be, right? So
Yeah.
number 2, we got the Ravens. The Ravens are obviously a really great team. They have the league is their quarterback, so I'm excited. The Ravens lost Patrick. So that's tough. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah. Nathan, I think you're having some Wi-Fi issues, but I'll pick it up on the Ravens. Yeah, they did lose some pieces. A lot of Ravens fans think that was their window, and maybe it's closed now. Maybe it's not. But in my eyes, when you have Lamar Jackson, you add Derrick Henry, like you're absolutely a contender. Their defense is still really good. John Harbaugh is a fantastic coach, and man, like Zay Flowers really broke out at wide receiver last year. They have a great team. They have Roquan Smith anchoring their defense, which was just a phenomenal pickup from the Bears a year or 2 back, and they have the tools. It's just they haven't been able to finish, and it's largely due to the number 1 team on this list, who have been the bane of teams like the Ravens, like the Bills, for example, 49ers, Eagles. So, it's just a matter of sort of getting over that hump and just being a team that can that can get to the Super Bowl, like at the end of the day. And yeah, I think Derrick Henry was a fantastic pickup. So he and Lamar Jackson in the backfield next to each other is phenomenal. So we'll go ahead and end it here. Number 1, Kansas City Chiefs. And as much as I don't want to put them here, they're back-to-back Super Bowl champs, reigning champs. And as long as you have Patrick Mahomes on your team, I don't care who the supporting cast is, you're a contender. And we saw that last year. Chiefs wide receiver room was sort of a joke at times. And now you have Rashee Rice having issues off field, but they sort of have plugged some gaps there. Travis Kelce continues to be a great tight end. Nathan, what needs to happen for them not to be number 1?
I think it depends on the other teams to take them over, right? Like the Ravens and us and, all those other teams. We got to dethrone them. That's really the only way they're not going to be number 1. Patrick Mahomes will always be number 1. But the Chiefs obviously can have a downfall where Patrick Mahomes can't do all the work anymore. And it really does matter to have receivers that can catch the ball and not screw him over multiple times throughout the year. So, yeah, I mean, I hope they can be dethroned this year. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be fun to see him. I mean, I guess, right? Like, you hope
we don't want to see him.
Somebody will. Yeah.
You know what though? Marquise
We
Brown
hope that
was
someone
actually
can take him over though.
Yeah, Marquise Brown was a great pickup. I think it'll be a pretty solid flex option in fantasy this year. And then they re-signed Frank Clark, lost L'Jarius Sneed, so that's kind of interesting. But really quickly, we wanted to go over a little debate we were having. It was who has the best 1-2 punch in the league at running back, the Lions or the Dolphins. We couldn't really decide. I think it's the Lions. Nathan thinks it's the Dolphins. Listen, we know who the players are. It's Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and then the Dolphins is Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert. So we want y'all to let us know in the comments who it is, because we could argue about this for hours for various reasons. So let us know who you think it is. Otherwise, man, I'm really liking our power rankings. I think we did a solid job. This episode went pretty long, but we had to do a power rankings episode. This is it's one of the best parts of NFL football, in my opinion, is when new power rankings come out for the week and you're looking like, where's my team? Oh, 15, like, come on. But hopefully we can do one of these during the season too. So
it's like whenever you see the Texans and like it's like 15, you're like hoping like, okay, we're not the next one. We're not the next one. We're not the next one. And you just
exactly
keep going. But man, it's been awesome. We've been really wanting to do an episode, and we're excited for the season to start in the next couple of weeks. Probably an episode will come out like around the Hall of Fame game, I would think. I really don't expect anything to be happening unless cut days happen before that. I doubt it, right? Like I feel like cut days will probably start like a little after that.
I don't know. Casario mentioned a few weeks ago that he was like, "Well, expect a lot of cuts coming up," and none have really happened. So I would think that they would happen really soon. But I don't know. Otherwise, go get your jerseys. I just picked up a Nico Collins one off of DHgate, $30 set me back, and listen, I think they took down jerseys on DHgate actually shortly after, but go look and get you one and rep the new colors because this jersey is sick, and I'm excited to have some of the new threads on. So, Nathan, any parting words?
No, man, just let's just hope we have a good year, have a good start to the season. Bad news from NRG Stadium, but it is what it is. We'll get over it. We always do. So, thank y'all for tuning in, and
in sweater vest we trust.
Oh yeah, there we go. All right, guys, peace.
Later, y'all.